Well, hello. Welcome to another edition of Grace Church Conversations. My name is Chauncey Allman, and as usual, I'm here with the pastor of the church, Craig Cabanis, and we are excited once again to bring you another enlightening conversation about Grace Church. So, Craig, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I don't know when you're watching this, anyone who's watching, but this is the second day of March Madness. And so I'm doing a lot better than my brackets are doing. I'll just say that. They are uh, some of them are dead on arrival. So anyway, I'm doing better than that,
We're
which
good.
is
We're
not
good.
saying much.
Well, you,
Are,
you, you
are you
Baylor
in it?
Bears.
Are you in it, March
No,
Madness?
I'm not. No, since my team's not in, I just watch from afar. But I am rooting for your Baylor Bears. So
Yes,
congratulations on the win
they
today.
won today. Yep,
So
they did.
yeah. So when folks watch this, if it's next week or 2 weeks down the line, and if you guys have lost, and hopefully you haven't, but at least today we can go on record. Baylor won today.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely. That's
I did
something.
pick I did pick Baylor in both. I filled out two brackets and I picked Baylor to win for both. So I haven't checked anything today. But
Wow, Rob. That's
yesterday my bracket got busted up a little bit, but today if
okay.
Baylor won, I know at least one of my teams.
I love it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it today.
It's a fun time
Well,
of year.
It is fun.
yeah. Well, Rob's already started talking here. So, if you're new to the podcast and you may be wondering, who's this additional good-looking fella up here?
Ah,
That's none other than Rob Tombrella, one of the other pastors of Grace Church, and we're doing something a little different today. Normally we talk about the theme for the year and kind of dive into the sermon a little bit, and pull out some additional nuggets that may not have come out during the sermon. But today it's going to be a little different in that Rob is here as our special guest. We're going to talk about his new church plant that's coming up, Resurrection Church. And so we're excited to have you, Rob. Welcome aboard.
glad to be here. I'm a big fan of the podcast, big fan of you guys personally, and so this is great. It's great to get a chance to be a part of the show and part of the podcast.
Great. Well, 18 years in, you've been at Grace Church since it started. And now I guess it's time that you kind of leave the flock, so to speak, the local flock. You still be a part of the church in a certain capacity. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, Craig, I know it's probably very bittersweet for you. I know it is for me when we first heard about the church plant, but Rob's going to do some great things. So we wish him well.
Absolutely. It's exciting. It is relationally sad, even though he's not going to another
Yeah.
part of the world. He's just going, half hour, 45 minutes away, something like that. But it's still a change in terms of Sundays and daily life. And our offices are right next to each other, down we in the same hallway there. So it is sad, but I'm so excited for you, Rob, and I'm so excited for folks who are going. And one thing I've just have a little window on an observation of, Rob, I'd love to ask you about this just to get started. We're going to ask some questions about the church plant because I really want folks at Grace Church and anyone else who may see this to be able to get a little of an update of what's happening. And we can't take half an hour on a Sunday morning to just say, hey, what's going on with the plant like we can do right now? So I'm really looking forward to folks hearing from you. And that's kind of why we're doing this, so the church could be current with what's happening. But I have a window into your life a little bit right now. And it seems like you are living in two worlds. So it's this time of transition. You're officially a Grace Church employee, I guess, through May or something like that. And then in the summer, you'll make a transition with the move and all. But you're really very much involved in the plant right now, where you're doing much less at Grace Church and much more to be preparing for the plant, which is appropriate, what we want you to do during this time. So I just want to ask you, what's it like in this time of transition, kind of living in two worlds, two churches, and all that? How you doing?
By God's grace, I'm doing well. You might ask me tomorrow how I'm doing, but today, so far so good. It almost feels like three worlds because there's the world of Anna,
Yeah.
uh, and the reason I'm up in Anna a lot of the days, almost every day, is because we enrolled Asher into high school. Moved him from Panther Creek High School, which is a high school in Frisco, to Anna High School. So Frisco has 13 high schools. Anna has one currently.
Mm.
And so that wasn't originally the plan. The original plan was that, he was just going to start his sophomore year of high school. For those who don't know, I have three sons. One graduated last year. This is why I wasn't planning on planting a church. One graduated last year. One is a senior at Panther Creek High School and is graduating in about a month or two. Um, and then Asher is a freshman at currently at Panther Creek High School. So the original plan was that he was just going to start his sophomore year after we moved in the summer. The plan is to kind of move around June, and then the church was going to launch in September, and he's just going to start then. But after meeting the coach up there and talking about how to help him prepare, he plays football, and so he wants to do well with that, and so the coach was saying, hey, if you can enroll him earlier, that would be even better. And the more we prayed about it and talked about it, and really the more Asher prayed about it and kept coming to us and saying, Mom and Dad, can you guys enroll me now so I can start building relationships with people on the team? I can start to get to know the school, the teachers, the lay of the land. The more we thought about it, we thought, man, uh, driving right now back and forth is hard, but lots of people do that. And if it helps the fall go better,
Yeah.
let's just do it now.
Mhm.
And so that's
Yeah.
kind of it took us praying about it a lot and talking a lot about it. But really, what that allows is him to over these next few months really build relationships. So going into the fall, he doesn't have to start from square one. He is parachute dropping in there, like he's been there 2 weeks and doesn't know. There's nobody. He's never had experience where he's gone into a space and he doesn't know anybody.
Wow.
Nobody from the rec league, nobody from a
Mm.
previous school, none of that. So he's gone in, and we've just like prayed over him, sent him in, and he's a Christian, so he wants people to know Jesus, and so he's trusting the Lord throughout this process too. Um, so he's been an encouragement to us. His faith, the Lord working in him has
Mm.
encouraged us in this whole process too. So
Wonderful.
anyway, it kind of feels like we're in three worlds because it's the world of Anna, and then it's the world of Frisco, and then it's my car. I am putting some miles on my car. So I've got like coffee cups and water bottles, and it's just don't go to my car. You're gonna, or at least if you're gonna go to my car, don't judge me because how messy it is. So anyway, it feels a little bit like three worlds.
Yeah, well, Rob, we know that you have a team of people from Grace Church who are helping, with the transition and who are also moving over to the
Yeah,
church in Anna. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that team is coming together? A little, how
yeah.
many you have and how that's working out.
Well, the numbers, the confirmed numbers, we don't have just yet. We've given a deadline of April 21st. We gave that way back in late December, early January. We want to give people plenty of time to let us know after much prayer. We want people to prayerfully make the decision. We want them to involve uh, uh, involve us, involve the pastors in that process, because it is a process. It's a big decision to be a part of a church plant. Um, and so we've said April 21st, let us know definitively. Some have let us know early on. Some right out of the gate said we're in. Some have bought houses and have already moved or in the process of moving. And definitively, I don't have the final numbers yet, but something like 8 to 10 families have said um, for sure we're coming, and then there's a few others that are, still in that prayer process, and I would expect that to happen. And we've told people, look, if you don't know by April 21st and you're still praying about it, you can't rush. You can't rush that. You can't
Right.
rush
Mhm.
the Lord uh, calling you.
Right.
So if you don't know by April 21st, okay, but for planning purposes, we would love for you to let us know that you're in, so we can start asking you to do some things because there's a lot to do. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's coming together great. I mean, people Um, we had information meetings in the fall and more gathering meetings in the spring. Every meeting that we've had have been a room full of people leaning in, whether they know they're going or they know they're praying, and they're just supporting those who are, if they're not going or considering it for themselves, they are praying for people who are. So that
Mhm.
has been a beautiful process to see
Yeah.
see um, sort of a sacrificial heart across the board of everybody, because it's it takes faith to go, but it
Yeah.
also takes faith to send. It takes faith to send your friends,
Hmm.
um, and to know you're not going to be. I mean, like Craig, you said earlier, like we've been in this church for 18 years, and so we know what it's. I mean, it's a hard transition. Even going 40 minutes up the road, it's still, you're not in the same. We're in the same county, but we're not in the same church,
Right.
Mhm.
and that's a hard thing to say goodbye. And
Yeah.
so it's just been great. It's been difficult, but it's been good. And there's
Mm.
no other way around that. A church plant has its difficulties to send somebody out, but it's good. It's a good
Yeah.
difficulty and required difficulty to advance the gospel.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know if that answers your question,
Yeah.
but
It did. Totally. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're glad for folks who are going. Obviously, there's other folks beside you and Michelle and your boys that we're going to be saying goodbye to. So there's other folks as well that are going with. There's some, really significant folks from our church that are knit in. That
yep.
this is family for them, and it's family. So we're excited that they're going. We're excited they feel God's call and is leading. Excited that they're stepping out in faith, but it's sad to see them go as well. So I certainly want to communicate that anyone who is going, that we love you and are in full support of you as well, just like we are the Tombrellas and in all this. Now, one of the things that's a bit newer that the church has heard maybe a little bit about, but very little, is that there's another church that is sending some folks as well. And when we first, as an eldership, talked about planting you out to Anna, I mean, none of this was known or a possible. Only the Lord knew that, and so this was a development that came later that we haven't talked as much about on Sunday, but is such a surprise and a blessing from the Lord, and it's a shot in the arm to you and the Grace folks on this church plant. So talk a little bit about the other church that's in partnership on this plant as well.
Yeah, that's a great question and a really cool story if people have not heard this. So, we, as an elder team, went through a process of praying and just sensing and seeking the Lord on a church plant, and then me personally, just y'all helping me, the elders helping me process, is the Lord calling me to go plant. And and there were a lot of confirmations along the way, multiple confirmations, which are, that's a whole nother podcast. So you have to have me come out and I'll tell you a lot of those confirmations. One final confirmation, I remember we came out of a retreat that we do about this time last year. It was right about this time last year, from our pastor's retreat. We take it every year. One of the final confirmations was, and I remember talking to the team about it, was I had sent an email to a local pastor in that area that I knew about. I knew about the church, a church I trust, same doctrine, same theology, etc. And so I had reached out to a pastor of a church in Melissa. Melissa is just south of Anna, and I'd reached out to him because he knew the area. The church is over 10 years old, and so they had planted about 10 years ago in that area. So he knew contextually the area and could tell us what kind of churches are there. Are there other churches being planted there? What's the need like? What's the spiritual condition of the city of Anna? So I was reaching out for those reasons. I also knew he was also involved in Acts 29, which is a church planting network. He was also involved with the Colin Baptist Association. He was the church planting director. His name's Ryan Ross, and he's the lead pastor over at City Church in Melissa. And so I just emailed him before we went on our retreat, and I just told the guys, one of the final confirmations is this conversation. Just kind of what we learn about the area, and it may mean that we plant somewhere else and not Anna, or so we didn't know what to expect out of this, but I went and met with Ryan, and what he told me in our first meeting was that their elders had been praying for years about planting a church
Mm.
in Anna
Wow.
specifically. And he said, when I got your email, and it was almost like they had been praying just very recently
Wow.
about going there, and then I'd emailed, and we met, and he described the area, he described the growth, he described the spiritual condition, he described the need, and how the gospel is needed in local churches, and just the numbers aren't adding up. There's so many people moving in from all over the world into Anna, but we need churches in Anna, especially gospel preaching churches. And so it was a real confirmation. And so from there, we began a conversation where Craig was involved, and it was me and Ryan and Craig all coming together and with open hands saying, what would it look like? What would it look like? And because we don't hear a lot of this happening, and I don't personally know of a church plant doing this, where
Yeah.
what would it look like for two churches to send out a team to Anna? So that's when we began to have those conversations, and they were lengthy. I mean, we took a lot of time with it, just to kind of talk through what would that look like, and how could Rob spend some time at City Church Melissa, particularly in the spring, particularly these Sundays. So the Sundays that I'm not at Grace, I'm actually doing something.
Yep.
I'm at City Church Melissa on those Sundays. I'll actually be preaching there this week on Palm Sunday, and then back at Grace Church at Good Friday and Easter. So it's kind of like we started having these conversations. Well, what would it look like to send um, for two churches to come together and send a team out to Anna? So that's kind of what we're doing. That's kind of what we're doing. So we've had gathering meetings once a month at and change locations each month. So in January it was at City Church Melissa, and invited everybody from Grace Church to be at that. And then in February it was at Grace Church, and we've just gone back and forth each month, and we're doing that through the spring. And just we've invited everybody to come to both. So on Sunday we'll have another one at City Church, and then we'll be back at Grace Church for the April one. So it's kind of an experiment. It's just an opportunity to trust the Lord, um, and move forward by faith. And that's what we're seeing. It's been pretty cool.
That
That's
is cool.
exciting.
And when you guys are going to the various churches back and forth like that, the teams are, for the monthly meeting, the teams are getting together for lunch after church, and you guys are kind of building the team. You're giving updates, so it's really it's the launch team coming together and preparing for the launch. But it's two churches, like as you're describing. That's just really, really unique. But what an opportunity from the Lord, especially since people from City Church and who are wanting to join you on this plant there. Some of them live in Anna, whereas
Correct.
that we've got a couple people from Grace Church that live in Anna, but not many. And so that's an advantage too, because you've already got some people in the community that will be joining the church plant team, right?
Correct. And that's been one of the burdens that the elders there at City Church have had. They over the past couple of years, something like, I don't know if this exact numbers, 40 to 50% of their visitors have come from Anna. And there's a lot of reasons why that is. For one, City Church is a phenomenal church, but there's just a lack of gospel centered churches up in Anna. A lot of visitors coming from Anna to Melissa.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, City Church has a big vision to reach people in Melissa that is growing on its own, and they're at 3 services, and they're pretty packed out. And so they have just had this big burden to send a team to Anna and with Anna people
Yeah.
there, uh, uh, to plant a church. So
Hmm.
it's been pretty great.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's exciting. And Rob, could you share an update on on some of the logistics? Like, do you have what's the plan for meeting place? When is the official launch? What do you guys have planned for the summer? So just logistically, can you give us an update as to what's going on?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, sometime in December, January, it's all kind of running together here. Albert Kramer, who's helping basically do a bunch of administration. He's basically he's the administrator on the church plan. He's a member at Grace Church until we formally have membership at Resurrection Church. And he and Ray, his wife, have come on the church plan. He's actually in Cameroon right now. So as we
Yeah.
talk right now, he's in
Mm.
Cameroon on the Grace Church mission trip there. So, but he and I went and met with the superintendent, and he basically said there's two options. There's an elementary school, and he took us over to look at it, which was great. I mean, we just saw that as an open door. We just saw that as the Lord just opening up doors, just that He would be willing to talk to us about meeting in a place that's never had a renter before, really. And so we looked at that space, but then he also said there's the middle school, which is in the center of the city. The elementary school is great. We looked at it; it was a great option, but it was kind of off the beaten path. But the middle
Mm.
school is right in the center. And everybody knows where Slater Creek Middle School is in Anna. You know exactly where that is because you drive by it all the time. It's right by the park. It's right by a new skate park they just completed. It's really by everything. But he said there's a church that's meeting there now, but they're supposed to be out sometime in the early summer, and it may be available for you in the fall. So, with just limited Sundays, Albert and I went and visited that church pretty quickly after that conversation, just to check it out, just to see,
Mm.
to meet the pastor and the church, and just see how they use the space, and to see, is it true that they're moving out? We learned that it is true that they're moving out. The pastor there, they've been there for a few years. They are building a permanent location. They're supposed to be out in the next month or two, and so we visited the church, and pretty spontaneously. And what we were not aware of on this visit was that with this random Sunday that we show up, the pastor said, "You know what? This is the same Sunday we invited the mayor, two city councilmen, the principal of the school, a couple of police officers." Oh, like everybody that we know, essentially, of the city, to come, and we're gonna pray over them at the end of the service. Would you guys come up at the end of the service and let us pray for you too? And Albert and I are
Mm.
like, well, what do you say? Except yes, of course, of course.
Right.
What do we say? Of course, we'll get prayed over, like with the mayor. We haven't met the mayor yet. I know his name, but I've not met him yet. Well, in between like worship songs, I'm like meeting the mayor and the principal and high fiving city council members. Not really, but just,
Right.
we're right up there with them. And then he has us come forward. And I mean, this is the adventure of church planting. So he's letting everybody introduce themselves. And Albert and I'm now getting a little bit nervous. Like, how do I introduce myself to everybody here? How do you follow the mayor? I'm mayor. I'm the mayor. And how do you do that? I'm a stranger. I don't live in Anna. I'm building a house. We're planting a church, maybe in this space. So the mic's going down the line, and the mayor speaks, and then a couple city councilmen speak, and then the principal's right next to me, and he speaks, and then before I have to introduce myself, thankfully that pastor introduced us. And when he did, he said, this is Rob and this is Albert, and they're here, and they are going to plant a church in Anna, and they're going to actually be using this building whenever we move out. And I'm thinking, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about it, but we've not made that decision yet. And he and I have talked about this afterwards, so he laughs about it. It was a bit of a spontaneous thing. He said, so we've talked about it. I was saying, man, we haven't made that decision yet. And then I kind of took a moment and whispered over to the principal. I said, well, that'll be up to you. He said, oh yeah, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
That's one way to close the deal. That's one
I
way
was
to
like,
close
I
the deal.
guess
Just
we
have a
are.
public announcement. We'll be
Hey,
moving in here.
yeah, we did like the space. It wasn't as though we were like, we love what they're doing. We just hadn't decided that yet. And I guess the decision was made for us before we even had a
Love
chance
it.
to talk about it. So I told that to the launch team, the gatherings, and they thought it was pretty funny. And it really is a great space. As we walked in it, we were like, "Oh, this is great. The location is better. If we could get in here, it would be super fantastic." And we're actually talking to that church right now as they're moving out. There's some things that they may allow us to purchase from them,
Great.
which I was going to say at the end of this podcast, that's a big prayer request. Is things
Mm.
like they have a trailer they may allow us to purchase, or they may even donate. I'm not sure, but they a trailer, some crates, uh, a bunch of other items that they may not be using when they move to a permanent facility that we are eager to receive on this church.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And the
Really
launch,
excited.
Rob?
the launch date.
Yeah.
Yeah, the launch date is September 15th.
Great.
That's the public. We will have meetings prior to that. Really, as soon as we can get into the school, we'll do some like soft launch things just to make
Yeah.
sure we know how to turn the lights on and where the speaker volume is, that the doors are unlocked when we show up, etc. In the summer, we will also be doing some worship nights, um, worship gatherings, where we'll sing together, um, break down and do small group, pray together,
Yeah.
talk about what it means to be a church plant, to be a launching team, two churches becoming one, having one new vision, um, adjusting our expectations. That's going to be a big one. Everybody's got to adjust their expectations across the board. So we're going to talk about that throughout the summer. So we'll have some more we're having regular meetings, but they're monthly right now. It's just the reality of people moving and transitioning, and our house is being built. We're not even in Anna yet. Our house
Yeah.
is to be done at the end of May. So in the summer, we'll start having some more regular frequency gatherings. Not every Sunday. We talked about that, but regular meetings in the summer. We'll start doing that, um, and um, and then launching in September.
Mm. That's wonderful. Hey, Rob, maybe we could think about we could ask, I got to ask you this because we like to know how we could pray. But first of all, just share maybe what are you excited about in this process? What's really stood out to you? I mean, we can hear the stories and we could probably imagine some things that are really exciting. But where in this process you said, "Man, I just see the Lord at work, and I'm really excited, grateful about that." And then where do you see need? So how could we pray for you? Where are you aware of your need, or the launch team, or the church plan? However you think about that, but just tell us kind of a something that's a thumbs up and something that you have need prayer for.
Yeah, I would say the open doors. I have felt open doors throughout this whole process. I felt it with the ISD, just an openness to come, a willingness to have conversations about the contracts and the different schools. I mean, the fact that he was showing us around the school, there's an
Wow.
eagerness for churches to come.
Mhm.
That was one thing that we learned. A really important person in the city told a pastor, um, and I learned about it, was something like, um, we believe that the future direction of the city, the fate of the city, really comes down to solid churches being planted
Wow.
in Anna. And so there's a spiritual burden from believers in high places in Anna, and they're wanting to see uh, churches planted there. And so there's just been this openness, this open door, and that's been in almost every time that we've knocked on something. We've seen the Lord open a door somehow, some way. The
Mhm.
the Slater Creek Middle School is an example of that. We did an outreach in December, met a bunch of people in the with the city hall, and just they were grateful that we were coming and
Oh, so good.
helpful and introducing us to people, uh, economic development folks. So there has just been, please come. I mean, that's kind of how we have We have sensed it every
Wow.
time we've knocked. We've just sensed like more people have. I mean, there's been some challenges along the way here and there, but mostly
Mhm.
it's been come. We want you to come, and so that's been confirming over and over again.
Mm.
It's been confirming how the Lord's called people from both Grace Church and City Church to tell us we're coming. We feel like, and it wasn't my great presentation, at the information
Mhm.
meeting. It wasn't my demographic uh, uh, information that convinced
Right.
everybody we're coming on the church plant. It's the Holy Spirit through prayer calling people, and,
Mm.
and then them communicating that has just been so helpful, so confirming. It's mapped on with how the Lord's called me and my family. Even last Sunday, uh, or 2 Sundays ago, there was a family that had come from City Church to Grace Church, and they wanted to come up to me right after our during the lunchtime and just tell us that they felt like God was calling them to be a part
Oh,
of the
wow.
church plan, and it was
Mm.
clear, and they were going into details about how and what had happened, and it was so helpful. All of
Yeah.
that was so helpful. Um, so I'm just really excited about all that. I mean, those are some big wins. In terms of prayer requests, we one big prayer that we've talked about a lot. There is a pastor from City Church, Melissa, who is also coming on, and there's a whole story there. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. His
Mhm.
name's Kent.
Yeah.
He's met our team. We walked through a process of him uh, sensing a call to really really lay down another plan to plant a church and
Mhm.
join this church. And it's a
Mm.
story of sacrifice. It's a story of uh, of, of of the kingdom. It's a story of him putting he and his wife and his family putting the kingdom first, even above his own desires. And so it's just amazing. His name's Kent, and he shared at Grace Church at our last gathering time. But as he and I have talked, we've really just been praying about two teams becoming one team. We started to see that at our last gathering at Grace Church up in the loft. We started to really pray, and something happens when you pray.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing you can talk and have conversations and figure out your differences and your similarities and all that kind of stuff. But when you sit down and you pray and you're praying about a particular advancement in mission, something something happens, and something was
That's good.
happening in the room that day where it was two churches becoming one. But I probably would say that's one of our biggest prayers right now is that two teams would see themselves as one team,
Mm.
launching Resurrection Church. Uh, I have some personal requests, like you know, with I have three sons, with one working full time. We're in this new season of life. Like one's
Yeah.
working
Mhm.
full time and going to school. Another kid's at home. Well, they're all at home right now, but they're just very different seasons. Another kid's a senior and he's getting ready to graduate. Y'all know what this is like. He's
Mhm.
graduation stuff, and
Yep.
that's really busy. And he's full time. I mean, he's full time student, part time at a job, and then Asher's at this whole other school, and I'm driving back and forth or working up in Anna the days, some of the full
Hmm.
days there, and we're all getting back together and saying, "Who's here tonight? Who's working at Chick-fil-A, and who's
Yeah.
girlfriend, and who's with us?" And
Yeah.
so we are just, you know, meals together are rare and sweet when it happens. It's just kind of the way that life is right now.
Sure.
But we're trying not to let that be um, a downer, but let that be a part of this privilege, and let it be. I was praying this morning. I was writing down a prayer like I would love to see in June what we said about these 2 months was that it was fun and that we were having fun and it was crazy. We got to put our house on the market. It was talking to a carpet guy today, and we got to get all this stuff off the floor so we can get the carpets changed out and get the house on the market quick, because the builder wants us to get the house on the market quick. And I understand that. And it's like, well, we want to get it on the market as fast as we can, but our physically, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We can only box up stuff fast enough, so fast. And anyway, so we want this to be fun and not overly stressful. I mean, stress can move you into a place of self-pity and woe is me. And we just ask the Lord to protect us from that, help us have fun.
Well, Rob, we are so excited for you. Again, bittersweet. You know, when I first heard the news, and I'm like, oh man, we're losing Rob. But then I had to put my selfish thoughts aside and just know, hey, the Lord is at work, and it sounds like he really is in the city of Anna, and we're certainly going to miss you at the church. And
Chauncey, if you want to talk about the potential of joining the church plant, we can talk about that.
The guy's recruiting on the podcast.
He's
recruiting anybody, even on a podcast. So
it's not too late, is what you're saying, right?
It's not too late.
It's not too late. We can talk. Let's meet for coffee, Chauncey, and we can talk all about
anything can happen.
Yeah, moving up north a little bit. So.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll meet. We'll meet for sure, Rob.
Then it would be, Craig saying goodbye, and
yeah.
He would lose.
I'd be around here by myself, just talking to myself. So
I don't know. Maybe you could do the hosting in Anna, Chauncey.
Well, there you go, man.
He's recruiting hard, Craig. He is on the trail.
Conversations podcast from Anna.
Yeah. A remote. We'll do a live remote. We'll come on and do a live remote and give away some T-shirts or something.
That's right.
It's funny that you're saying that, because one thing I would actually really commend you on, Rob, in case someone's hearing this and thinks that's been how you've been building a team. I really think you've trusted the Lord. Certainly, you've tapped people on the shoulder and said, "Hey, I've wondered about you. Is this on your heart?" There's been some tapping on the shoulder a little bit, but it's mostly just been Sunday announcements, God speaking to people, them showing up. I had a leader in the church at one point talk to me about wondering if they should go, but saying, Rob isn't recruiting me at all. I'm just wondering if the Lord is calling me. And I think that just speaks of your trust of the Lord. You've certainly invited some folks to pray about it, but it's been, let's trust the Lord and see what he says. And so I really have appreciated that, because, I think my experience of planting a couple of churches, as well as I found out very early on, we don't want anybody on the church plant team that God's not calling. It's not good for them. It's not good for the church plant. It's not going to be healthy. So I think honestly, all joking aside, I commend you, because I've seen your faith in this whole thing of, with the other church, saying, man, there's a lot of unknowns there. It's going great, but there's a lot of unknowns when you walk down that. Tons of faith there. Uprooting your family at a time like you just described, tons of faith there. The way you have been walking through the open doors you talked about, which are so exciting. So those of us around you who've, had a front row seat to the journey, you've just walked by faith. And I think the Lord's I think he is honoring that. And I think he's going to really, really honor that. So I do commend you, brother. And, we'll miss you, as Chauncey said, but I'm so thankful you got this opportunity and the Lord's opening all these doors. So I'm cheering you on, man. And God willing, I'll be there at that launch too. I'm hoping to celebrate if I'm invited. I guess you'll have me, but I'd like to be there, just shaking hands, kissing babies, and cheering you on. So,
well, consider this an official invite, because we haven't talked about that, but thank you for that encouragement. And that's super encouraging. And like I told the folks at the last gathering that we had, and Craig came and shared his own personal experience with church planting, and gave gave a strong word about, well, not strong word, but an encouraging, pointed word about trusting the Lord and and doing so open-handed and sort of uh, not making demands on a church plant um, and just seeking the Lord both for confirmation that you're supposed to go, and then when you're on the other side of a decision of just trusting just trusting what's on the other side. And I was able to say I've seen upfront and personal Craig lead our team that way, walking by faith, leading by faith. Uh, you gotta lead in a certain direction. You gotta trust God and move in a certain direction. But you don't always know what the results are going to be, what the fruit is going to be, and you have to kind of leave a lot of that empty-handed and just trust Him with it. And so we just walked through for 18 years. We've walked through a lot of highs and some lows.
Yeah.
And I've seen Craig. I've seen you on both those. I've seen you on the mountaintop. I've seen you down in the valley.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
we've been down in the valley
Yep.
together, and it's been beautiful to see God's grace in your life. That
Oh,
you're
thanks, man.
the same leader in both those places. So I hope to be that when I hit those valleys, and I'm tempted to get in the fetal position. I need Chauncey to call, say, hey man, you need to call Craig, and
Yeah. I'll,
let him encourage you.
I'll come over, bro. I'll come over anytime. You let me know.
It's good.
Well, Rob, thanks for all that you're doing with the church plant, and you took the time out today to sit down and give us a wonderful update. Again, we're so excited about what the Lord is doing, and thank you again. And Craig, I guess this is a wrap until the next one.
Yeah,
And,
this is it, man. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks,
Yeah.
Craig.
Thank you guys.
All right.
See you.
Take
Thanks,
care,
Sean.
guys. Till next time.